everyone. I am happy to join Andy this morning for the Team Kentucky update. Last week, we kicked off our Christmas toy drive for Eastern Kentucky families impacted by the historic flooding in July. We are nearing the 1-year anniversary of the deadly tornadoes in Western Kentucky, which was the tragedy that inspired our first toy drive. The response to that effort was something neither of us could have imagined. We witnessed hundreds of thousands of donations pouring in from all over the Commonwealth, the country, and the world. We know that this year is different. It's been a few months since the flooding took place. Families out east are still rebuilding, they are still recovering, they are still hurting. We plan to be with them today, tomorrow, and all the days ahead as they navigate the process of rebuilding their lives. This time of year can be challenging, and we want to help provide some relief and definitely joy to those families, many of whom lost everything. We need your help so we can reach as many kids as possible. If you have the capacity to give this Christmas season, please consider donating. We are seeking new toys in their original packaging. Please avoid gift wrapping so that volunteers can sort toys and families can see what they are getting. Kids of all ages were affected in this disaster, from babies to teens, so please keep that in mind as you shop. No item is too big or too small. We will accept books, games, toys, arts and crafts, stuffed animals, anything you think that a child will love. Whatever you are able to give will bring joy to a child this Christmas. Last week, we launched our mail-in donation site for anyone who wishes to ship a toy. You can do so directly to Jenny Wiley State Park. Today, I am excited to announce some exciting partnership for in-person donation sites. Starting with tonight's home men's game at 7 p.m. Central Time, Murray State University will be collecting toys at their next 5 home men and women's basketball games. Racers, fans, and friends in Western Kentucky, be sure to stop by. Northern Kentucky University men's basketball fans who plan to attend the home game this Saturday, December 3rd, can bring a toy or stuffed teddy bear donation to Truist Arena and will receive a free ticket to any future NKU men's or women's basketball game. The University of Kentucky will have donation bins on campus for students and the Lexington community to drop off toys. Donation sites will be located at the Gatton Student Center and the 90. I'm also excited to announce our partnership with Kroger, which will be collecting toys at 3 of their largest stores located in Prospect, Richmond, and Somerset. Additional stores may be added, and we will provide updates as we have more information. Thank you so much to these incredible groups who are an important part of Team Kentucky. Your help will make a difference. You can find additional information and addresses for all of these opportunities at firstlady.ky.gov/toy drive. We will be announcing more partnerships and opportunities over the next week, so be sure to check out the website and social media for updates. December 14th is the deadline to make a donation at most sites or to mail in donations to Jenny Wiley State Park. Kentuckians have been through a lot in the past year. Just like we did for Western Kentucky families in need, I know that we are going to make this Christmas special for Eastern Kentucky as well. Switching gears, I want to send out a quick reminder. The deadline for photographers to submit their work to be featured in the Spring 2023 Team Kentucky Gallery exhibit is tomorrow, December 2nd. As many of you know, one of the Capitol hallways is now filled with artwork from Kentuckians. Makes the People's House even more special, highlighting the talents and stories of those who call our Commonwealth home. This next exhibit is the first to be exclusively photography. Please, if you haven't yet, make sure to visit the website on the screen to apply by tomorrow's deadline. Now I'm going to turn it over to Andy.
Thank you. All right, thank you to Brittany. And folks, let's make sure we show up for the children of Eastern Kentucky. With everything they've been through, it's going to be real challenging for those families to provide the type of Christmas that each and every one of those children deserves. So lots of opportunities with lots of partners. So please give generously, and let's make sure that we are there for these kids and for these families. Today, we have some great economic development news to share as we continue to build on the best 2-year period for economic growth in our state's history. Since the start of 2021, companies have announced more than 400 new location and expansion projects for an incredible $20.4 billion in new private sector investment and have created 32,500 full-time jobs. So I can report, even though we are not through this last month of 2022, that this is and will be the best 2-year period for job growth and for new economic development in the history of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Contributing to those numbers, we recently announced a game-changing investment with a signature bourbon industry partner. What better way to start today's economic development announcements than with Sazerac Company and its record-setting investment in the Commonwealth? The Louisville-based company recently announced a $600 million expansion in Laurel County, which represents the single largest distilled spirits-related investment in Kentucky's history. The investment includes the addition of nearly 20 new barrel storage warehouses in Laurel County, which are going to create up to 50 full-time jobs for Kentucky residents. The project also includes a 72,000 square foot expansion of Robinson Stave and Cumberland Cooperage, which Sazerac acquired in 2014 to increase production capacity for barrels that it uses to age its whiskey. Work on the project is expected to begin in the coming weeks, with completion of the first seven barrel warehouses expected in the spring of 2025. I want to thank Sazerac for their leadership, for their continued investment, for their delicious bourbon, and I look forward to seeing this project come to fruition. I also want to highlight a great event I attended in Louisville yesterday as I joined leaders from LDG Multifamily for the ribbon cutting ceremony of their new company headquarters. So LDG is an affordable housing developer that's created 22,000 housing units in 7 states, including 4,000 in Kentucky. LDG is one of the leading developers of affordable housing in the entire country. They have employees in Louisville, Nashville, and Atlanta, but they chose to stay in Kentucky for their headquarters. In August of last year, we announced the incentive package for their $10.75 million investment as they had outgrown their previous headquarters. So this is larger space in Louisville's historic Madrid building that now houses the company's existing staff. And when they put forth that application, they said they were going to hire 50 Kentuckians to really high-wage jobs. I think they're average about $85,000 a year. Well, the good news is the ribbon cutting just occurred, and they've already hired 22 and are moving quickly towards that goal. This is a great company run by great people who have a real passion for serving those in need. If you go to one of their facilities, they work on after-school tutoring, additional educational opportunities, trying to meet the needs of folks that maybe with just a little extra help and that place to live can really provide more opportunities for that next generation. That's something as a parent I know we all want. All right, some additional good news. And this hadn't been good news for a while, but it's gas prices. They continue to drop. Kentucky's gas prices are 29 cents below the national average. We're one of the states with the lowest gas prices in the country. As of today, our average is $3 and about 18 cents. It's just barely under $3.18. It's $3.179. That's down 3 cents just from yesterday, 12 cents from last week, and 20 cents from last month. This is a trend that we want to see continue. And at this rate, we may, in the coming weeks, get down to where we even were last year before rising gas prices. And we get, though, that inflation isn't just about gas prices. And especially moving into this holiday season, even with the incredible spending out there and the larger growth in our national economy than predicted, things can still be hard for some of our families. So as a reminder, a couple things we've done to keep more dollars in people's pockets. In February, we froze the rate on vehicle property tax for 2 years. That's going to save Kentuckians $340 million. I filed an emergency regulation that froze the state's gas tax. It was going to go up on everybody. Gas was going to be at least 2 cents more expensive And that can really add up. That's going to save Kentuckians $35.4 million. And I made a push to temporarily reduce the sales tax. Inflation hurts because things cost too much. It would have been the best solution to help to make things not cost as much. That would have saved Kentuckians $873 million in relief. Ultimately, the General Assembly refused to take that step. Remember, though, that there are other ways to save. We can save you $1 on your rent or in other areas, then you'll have more dollars, whether that is for gas or for Christmas coming up. So remember, we still have funds to help people who are behind on their rent or on their mortgage, programs to help if you qualify on paying your internet bill, child care assistance programs, prescription drug assistance programs. These are all things that have been impacted by rising costs. So please check out those programs. If you qualify, we want you on them. We want you to get that extra help. We will make it through what is a temporary period of inflation. We get different experts telling us that it'll last different periods of time. But folks, it's hard, but we are going to make it. Just make sure that you use all the tools that are out there, and we will continue to try to find ways to keep more dollars in your pocket as prices ultimately come down. Update on Eastern Kentucky flooding. First, FEMA is still processing and still working on claims, so keep pushing. If you filed a FEMA claim but haven't yet gotten an award, do not give up. Just think about in the last month since the deadline passed for applications, FEMA's approved more than $7 million in additional funds for Kentucky and Eastern Kentucky flood survivors. That's money going directly into the pockets of Kentuckians to help them meet disaster-related needs. And what it means is you can still get that claim approved. While our disaster recovery centers closed, there are 7 what we call multi-agency resource centers, or MARCs, that are still available for face-to-face help. MARCs bring agencies together. They are collaborative operations. They are a critical venue for coordinated recovery from this natural disaster. So if you have questions about anything about the recovery, if you need a little bit of help, if you need help with your appeal with FEMA, or just help scanning and uploading the important documents that you have to send to FEMA, these areas are to help you. So if you've had challenges, go see somebody. These are all Kentuckians working in these facilities, and they want you to get that award to help rebuild your lives. Remember, you can also always call the FEMA helpline at 800-621-3362. And I want to remind everyone the 2 main reasons that Kentuckians have been ruled ineligible for assistance are missed inspections. That's when FEMA has scheduled a time to come to where your home was, or that FEMA can't get an individual to pick up the phone when they call. These are things that we can address, or we should be able to address. So please, if you've applied for assistance, pick up the phone. Even if the number that you see, you might not recognize. And please make sure you are there for your scheduled appointment. If you're having trouble with any of those, go to one of these MARC centers and let them help you. I want everybody who's filed that is eligible to ultimately get approved. Do not give up. We'll keep pressing, and we got a lot of resources that are still there to help you. Total amount of FEMA assistance to date, $89.5 million. That's through the housing assistance and the other needs assistance grants. National Flood Insurance Program has paid out more than $23.9 million. U.S. Small Business Association has approved $56.4 million. Remember, for the SBA, they announced it would extend the first repayment deadline to 1 year after the date the loan was signed instead of the standard 5 months. That's giving folks an extra 7 months to get back up on their feet and for small businesses to get back in operation. Disaster loans are available up to $200,000 to homeowners to repair or replace disaster damaged or destroyed real estate. There's also up to $40,000 available to repair or replace disaster damaged or destroyed personal property. Let's put up the travel trailer update. As of today, 325 trailers are on site in 10 locations. That's an increase of 5 since the last update. And as we have filled up these sites, having to build out 2 brand new ones in Breathitt County, the Jackson, and then the Letcher County Jenkins site, adding 5 from week to week or over a couple of weeks gets more and more challenging. 270 of them are currently occupied with 675 individuals. Best number up here, households transitioned out, 75. Folks only transition out of this program when they have found more stable long-term housing. We saw that in the West. This is a good number, and it seems to be increasing more quickly from week to week. Kentucky State Parks are now housing 154 people. That's down 31 from last week, and it's down from the 360 people sheltered on September the 1st. Jenny Wiley has 103 Kentuckians. Buckhorn has 39. Carr Creek State Park has 12. I want to dispel at least one rumor, and that's that people are getting kicked out of the parks. That is absolutely not accurate. We are working with everybody in those parks that follow the rules to make sure that we can find medium-term housing. Now, what we do have is a program where when we can offer one of those individuals a travel trailer and they're in a state lodge, they do have to take the travel trailer. That is the intermediate, longer-term housing, not the emergency sheltering. And ultimately, we've got to get the lodges back up and open for tourism that brings so many dollars that come into the region. But every one of these individuals is being offered what is a pristine travel trailer. Most likely they're on site at the state park. So I just wanted to make sure that we clarified for everybody what the process is, and we want to make sure that we continue to provide for the needs of as many Kentuckians as we can. As of Tuesday, more than 373,000 tons of debris have been picked up from roadsides and waterways. To date, we've cleaned 438 miles of creeks and streams. That is incredible. 24 bridges have been repaired or replaced. A link to our flood resource page, if we can put up, has a lot of information that is still needed, including the vehicle recovery program. I think we've picked up 38 flood damaged vehicles with another 18 that are coming. For the Eastern Kentucky Flood Relief Fund, over 41,000 donations, over $12.4 million. Thus far, we've paid for all 43 funerals and sent out 7,898 checks for $500. Those are for anybody who is approved for even $1 of FEMA assistance. That's $3.949 million. And we hope in the coming weeks to have, probably next week, we'll have a smaller announcement on housing and permanent housing with a larger one coming in the following weeks. Remember, what we're having to do here is rebuild towns. Some of these towns were built by coal companies 100 years ago. And that first requires finding the right piece of land, ensuring that it is safe. We want to make sure when we start when we start this permanent housing construction, that they are in places where people are never going to go through what they experienced during those days of flooding. New $15,000 plus donations that have come in. Arby's Inspire Foundation donated $23,516, and the Kentucky Distillers Association, who are the largest donor to this fund and made the largest single donation to the Western Kentucky Tornado Relief Fund, have now donated an additional $85,352. Thank you to each and every member of the KDA. What you're doing is special. Donations are still very much needed. The amount of permanent housing construction that we're going to be able to do will be based in part by how many dollars that we have. And it's costing more right now to build or even rebuild and repair a home. So please keep donating. But in good news for our Eastern Kentucky counties, I'm happy to discuss another extremely important project that has made the future of the area brighter, and that's through the Abandoned Mine Land Water Supply Restoration Project. What this is doing is providing $10.6 million of grant funds, and these are funds that come in every year. This is this year's. It's coming through the bipartisan infrastructure law. What we're going to be able to do is restore water infrastructure in Breathitt, Knott, and Letcher counties that suffered heavy damage in the flooding. It won't replace all of it, but this is an extra $10.6 million going into repair water and sewer infrastructure, which will be the largest cost of the rebuilding. The magnitude is significantly higher than just about anything else. How much damage has been done to our wastewater systems and water systems? I certainly think it exceeds $1 billion. 961 residents in Breathitt County communities of Lost Creek, Clayhole, Hardshell, Haddocks, Altro, Turner's Creek, Morris Fork, River Caney, and Watts will see $1.7 million worth of work. The work in Breathitt County is going to replace 4-inch and 6-inch water lines, meter bases, directional boring of stream crossings, and the installation of flush hydrants. It's going to ensure safe and adequate supplies of water. 2,500 customers in Knott County who live near Big Branch, Montgomery Creek, Highway 15 North, KY, Highway 1231, Ambergay, Sassafras, Kodak, and Vico will see about $4 million worth of work. The Knott County water system repairs and upgrades will help alleviate water loss and low pressure. And then 176 residences in Letcher County in the Millstone area will see another $4.9 million worth of work. This is helpful. It's going to take years to replace and repair, but ultimately upgrade, which is what we're going to be able to do as we're doing this. All of the damage to these water systems, this is new today, $10.6 million coming in through the bipartisan infrastructure law to help. All right, on high-speed internet. This is an administration that is committed to expanding access to reliable, high-speed internet. It's got to get to every single Kentuckian and every single Kentucky business. Commerce, education, healthcare, and so much more now almost requires high-speed internet because that's how so many of these services are being delivered. So this summer, we announced the largest public investment in the Commonwealth's history in broadband, more than $89.6 million in grants. That was augmented by the private sector investments to over $200 million. And it's ultimately going to help 34,000 Kentucky families and businesses that don't have access to internet or sufficient internet to have it. So just last week, I announced applications are now being accepted for the next round of public investment, which will exceed what we did over the summer. This time, just the public dollars will be more than $206 million, with, again, a private sector match, which we expect to create an investment of over $400 million in expanding high-speed internet across Kentucky. Applications for grant funding are available online from the Office of Broadband Development at broadband.ky.gov. These are competitively awarded grants, but they are focused on where we don't have internet in the Commonwealth, or where that internet is so slow it's like having no internet. Applications will be accepted until February 6, 2023, and we are really excited about what can be done here. This was a bipartisan agreement with the General Assembly. I can tell you that everybody in Kentucky believes that this is the moment where we can expand internet access faster than ever before. And I think everyone shares the collective goal, whether you're a legislator or in the executive branch, of getting internet access to every single Kentuckian. And we are going to see more of that in the coming years than we have ever seen. All right, we also have some exciting news today for Western Kentucky. One of the essential parts of our Better Kentucky plan is a continuous improvement of our transportation system, especially our highways and bridges. And in Western Kentucky, the longest awaited improvements of that transportation system has been the completion of Interstate 69. Today, we can say that the realization of that long-held goal is in sight. Later this month, We will begin work on a project to bring the remainder of the Julian Carroll Purchase Parkway, that's 21 miles from Mayfield to Fulton, up to interstate standards. That will allow it to be designated as part of I-69 and will mean that we have an interstate running through those counties. The work is being done by a Kentucky company, Jim Smith Contracting of Grand Rivers. This is a $34 million project targeted for completion at the end of 2024. And as you might recall, I think it was also over this summer that we announced the award of a contract for the approach all the way up to the bridge in Henderson for I-69. What this means is we have construction either about to start or already underway on virtually all parts of I-69 in Kentucky up to where the bridge will eventually be built. That is a significant acceleration of a project that this area needs. It will make Western Kentucky so much more competitive in so many ways, and it will open up counties that maybe haven't seen enough economic development because of the lack of an interstate system. It's going to be a huge lift for each of those counties. I can't wait to see the new businesses and new business opportunities that we're going to be able to bring to some of those areas. Part of this project is also going to reconstruct the interchange at the Wingo exit. It will be a rebuilt diamond interchange with extended ramps better suited for an interstate. Pretty exciting. This is one of the three major projects I talked about when I was running or even in some of my first addresses as governor. Those are the Brent Spence Bridge, and we are holding our breath waiting for news from Washington on that one. The Mountain Parkway, where we are working on the last segments to 4-lane that and then announce the route that we're going to take for what will be the last leg to Prestonsburg, and then this I-69 project as well. All right, some more positive news today. There is financial help out there for people who take on the important task of opening and operating a child care center here in Kentucky. We know that if we want to continue to increase our workforce, childcare is absolutely essential, and we don't have nearly enough childcare centers in Kentucky. So more than $6.5 million in funding has been made available to help the childcare industry, including funds to encourage Kentuckians to open new facilities. Operating a licensed childcare facility is an important contribution to the workforce, and it's essential to parents, guardians, grandparents, and each of our communities. People who go into this line of work are helping our kids and helping our families. They're helping our kids get off to a good start, and they are additional adults that are investing in these children and ensuring a bright future. With an economy on fire, 32,500 new jobs announced just since 21 and more on the way, a lot of people are looking around for additional childcare options. The amount of these one-time startup funds have now been doubled. So before you could receive $2,500 to help with startup costs, it is now $5,000. And that's to encourage more people to open child care centers. Now is the time to work together. Now is the time to continue to try to incentivize people to start their own small business in child care. For more information, contact the Cabinet for Health and Family Services Division of Child Care. Their phone number is 502-564-2524. This is the latest step that we've taken to augment our workforce, but it's certainly not the only one. We've worked to address the health of our people, things that are keeping too many people out of the workforce. That's the expansion of Medicaid into hearing, vision, and dental. It's pretty simple. If we expect you to work a job, you got to see well enough to drive to the job. So let's get that person a pair of glasses and let's get them back to work. To be safe in a workplace, you got to be able to hear the instructions. So let's get people the hearing aid they need. And we lose hundreds of millions of dollars in our economy due to emergency dental work alone. Another thing that we've been pushing hard is universal pre-K. It's the fastest thing we can do to increase our workforce. And just think about it. Every single Kentucky child could be kindergarten ready. And it would be, just a little bit more than 11% of the budget surplus that we have. For just about 11% of it. Every single child in Kentucky, every single 4-year-old in Kentucky could go to a public pre-K. And then we're working on other initiatives from recovery housing to augment treatment to get people better and back in the workforce, also to the prison to workplace pipeline project we announced with the Kentucky Chamber. So listen, if we could go back to March of 2020 and say in 2.5 years, we're going to have an economy that is so great that we're going to need to find new ways to get people into the workforce, I would have taken that deal and that challenge that moment. We can do this, and we will do it. And we'll do it by making smart decisions that work, not kicking people who are down that need a little bit of help to get back up. Let's remember, if we really want to solve a problem and not just beat each other up politically over it, then it takes smart decisions and it takes real solutions. And when you're talking about something like a job, something that brings dignity and security, something that lets us sit at the kitchen table, look at our kids, and know that we can take care of them. And so let's make sure that we continue to find all the ways to help folks that maybe with just a little more help could get back into the workforce. Let's get it to them. Let's get them a good job. And so they can sit across that kitchen table from their families feeling the same things. All right, today I'm also announcing the first of several changes we are going to make in our Department of Juvenile Justice. A lot has changed in the last 20 years in juvenile justice. And I think next week I'm going to lay out right now what the population that we're housing in juvenile justice looks like. What I will say, it is the charges that those juveniles are in for are more violent than we've ever seen. Of 179 juveniles, at least as of last week, that were in one of our facilities, 17 are charged with a capital crime. It's not quite half, but close to it, are charged with a C-level felony or above, and that is significant. And what we are seeing is violence within these facilities, sometimes gang-related, but other times being committed by typically an individual that has been charged with these very significant violent crimes. And what it does is it creates major disruptions in the system where we can't provide services to someone else who is not causing that disruption because it's not safe in the facility at that time, and you have to restore order before we can. And this has led to a number of issues of providing the types of services we want to throughout the system. What we've also seen are crimes against our female juveniles that have occurred during some of these riots or violent encounters. While our female juveniles are in separate parts, and we attempt to make them secure parts of these facilities, that is not enough. So today, I'm announcing that we are creating our first female-only juvenile justice detention center in northern Kentucky. That center is in Newport. It right now houses both boys and girls, and it's going to be transitioned to a girl or women only facility. While this is going to create some travel issues, it's going to move some female juveniles that might have been able to be housed closer to their homes. We now believe that this is an essential step to protect these individuals. And so we hope that both with law enforcement that may have a longer drive, or parents, or guardians, or folks trying to provide services that they will understand that this is a significant additional level of protection to try to ensure we don't see any of these individuals harmed in situations like we recently saw in Adair County. We are also working on creating a transportation group within the juvenile justice system to alleviate some of the transportation concerns. That's first going to be, how can we provide the transportation to hearings across the state so that local law enforcement won't be called upon to do that. But we also want to work on trying to make sure we can at least help in transportation from the parents, guardians, grandparents that may have to travel a little bit further, especially to see these female juveniles that we are housing. This facility has 35 detention beds, and in one thing we're required to do by law, there will at least be 2 populations within it. Those that are pre-adjudication, that means they haven't been tried and sentenced or sentenced, and those that are post-adjudicated, that means convicted of a crime and being housed in that facility. Next week, and I hope it will be next week, we'll announce some additional significant changes. The model that we've been following is one that, based on both the population that we are serving and what we are seeing, is outdated. And it is not providing the type of safety either for the workers. We in the Adair County incident that is still being investigated, and I'm not going to be able to give any further details on that. We had at least two of our DJJ workers that had to go to the hospital, one with very significant injuries. We can't allow that to happen. We can't allow that to happen because, first, these are our folks, and they're there trying to do good work. And second, we can't allow it to happen because we won't be able to recruit additional people to work these facilities unless they are safe. But the second piece is it does not create a safe environment for the juveniles either. So there's going to be a lot more next week on some additional steps that we can take to provide more safety for those within these facilities. All right, speaking of safety, cold and flu season is here, and we are seeing more flu cases in a short period of time, I think, than we've ever seen. And respiratory diseases like RSV are spreading across the Commonwealth. Several schools have canceled in-person classes. There were 3 days canceled in my kids' school. So we continue to recommend a couple things. First, please get the flu shot. It's actually pretty tailored for the current flu that we are seeing. Dr. Stack was talking yesterday about how it is very effective, but we need more people to get it. And we need people to get their COVID booster. The take up on the new Omicron booster nationally is really low. It does provide significant protection, and we highly recommend that people do it. RSV, please be on the lookout. Pediatric beds across Kentucky are almost entirely full. It just shows how significant it is, but there's some early data suggesting RSV activity may have peaked and be on the decline, and we certainly hope that that is true. Let's show the COVID map real quick. This continues to be encouraging. The map moves around, but it's been really green for several weeks. And then the stair-stepper chart. Again, we talk about a plateau and how it's not directly flat, but it moves up and down. Certainly, we don't see this as a sign of increasing cases. Let's go to the next one. Positivity rate just bumping up and down. And this is a good sign because, remember, you don't go in and get this is the real test where they go really far up your nose, and you don't go in unless you're sick and you think you've got it. Let's go to the next one. And this is just really encouraging. I think it's 200 and something folks in the hospital, which is one of the lowest amounts ever, and it's staying pretty steady. And then, this is people really sick with COVID, very low in the intensive care and on ventilators. But let me just make the point that we still have a bunch of people that are dying from COVID. It is still happening. So please get your booster. A lot of life has gone back to normal, and that's okay, but it's only fully safe if you've gotten that booster. And if you're immunocompromised in any way, wear the mask when you feel like you need to. Everybody ought to respect that. And I see a number of individuals in this community and in others doing just that. Finally, today's Team Kentucky All-Stars is going to be where Brittany started us. I'm so proud of her efforts to bring joy to Kentucky's kids who have lost so much. Together, I know we can make that Eastern Kentucky toy drive just as special as the one in Western Kentucky last year. So I want to thank and name Team Kentucky All-Stars, our partners who have stepped up to help. That's everybody like UPS, Amazon, and Kroger, University of Kentucky, Northern Kentucky University, Murray State. I also want to thank Coach Jackson at Kentucky State University, as well as the athletic department at Louisville, who confirmed they want to find a way to help promote this toy drive. We will keep you updated with more, but really special how we come together as a Commonwealth, especially when it means giving the Christmas that these kids deserve to them. Okay, we'll open it up for questions. We've got 2 journalists here with us and 3 on the line. We'll start with Carolina.
Governor, we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the tornado event in Western Kentucky. Is the state at a place where you're happy with when it comes to recovery and rebuilding?
So we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary. It'll be December 10th of the worst tornado disaster in our lifetime. Something that was very personal to me. It's very personal when you're governor and these things happen, but this almost wiped out my dad's hometown, and my mom's from Bowling Green, where it wiped out neighborhoods and killed far too many people. I'm never going to be happy with the recovery until it's done. There are still folks that are in temporary housing, travel trailers, or who are renting as homes are being rebuilt. And there are some delays within homes that are or were scheduled, let's say, for December. But difficulty getting certain supplies is pushed back maybe a month or 2. So while I admittedly will never be satisfied until the job is done, I'm really grateful for a lot of really good work being done out there. Look at the Habitat project in Bowling Green and talk to families, some of whom have never owned a house before, that are not only getting back on their feet, but building wealth for their family in the years to come. And the city chose an amazing park-like area where the families can even walk their kids to school. Ohio County and the houses that have been rebuilt there, everything going up in Mayfield. And I was in Dawson just, about a week ago, and to see brand new homes, beautiful homes going up is really special. But what you see are a dozen new homes, which is incredible, in a place where there used to be dozens upon dozens upon dozens. I'm also grateful for the economic development that we have seen, especially in the West, because yes, we want to rebuild your home, but a job is what gives you hope about the future. So we've announced 400 plus new jobs in Mayfield, 200 in Muhlenberg County, where Bremen is, as well as that Ascend Elements plant, 400 great jobs, about 26 miles from Dawson Springs. So I'm grateful. I'm glad that it continues to move forward, but I'm not going to be satisfied until the job is done. And I imagine it's going to be at that 1-year mark, another 6 months to 8 months until absolutely everybody that's looking for a rebuilt home has the opportunity to be in it. But to stand in the middle of Mayfield and look around and realize in 2 years what can be done, that's also pretty incredible. Tom?
Thank you, Governor. And first of all, let me wish you a happy belated birthday.
Thank you. Tom just wished me happy birthday.
You said there's 35 females that will be taken to Newport, so that means, right?
There are 35 beds in the facility.
Beds. Okay. What is our current juvenile female population right now? Since I'll bet that means more is going to have to be done.
Well, I believe right now, and I'll need to confirm this, that the number of females within Department of Juvenile Justice is under 35. Though we will need at different times to make a couple of exceptions. We've got at least one individual in the system that may need to be at a higher level of security. And then we have at least one very young individual that may need to be closer to services. So our goal is to get all of our female juveniles in DJJ into this facility unless there is a very compelling reason about how we can better serve them, or if it would cause a security threat within the facility to the other juveniles. But this is just one step. And change will never be easy. Change never is easy, especially what I think will be major changes announced next week, but they're just absolutely required at this point.
If I may follow
Yeah.
up quickly, have you been able to ascertain who the attackers were of the women, and I assume they will face charges if so?
There is an ongoing Kentucky State Police investigation into the riot in Adair County. I fully expect there will be significant charges coming out of it. I believe there are 20 female juveniles in the DJJ system at the moment. So that means we have enough room. All right, online we've got Melissa Patrick.
Oh, excuse me. Hi, Governor. Happy birthday. I'll wish you a happy birthday as well. So my question is that you call for masking for immunocompromised people in Kentucky, but even if we're boosted, everyone's still at risk of long COVID. And in an op-ed recently, Dr. Kavanaugh suggests that public health officials are not raising enough warning about long COVID. So I'm just curious, what is Kentucky's public health advice to protect against this long COVID, and what role does masking play in that?
Well, first, our advice to every single Kentuckian is get vaccinated and get boosted. If you look especially for Kentuckians under 60, the lives we're losing are almost entirely either unvaccinated or haven't gotten a booster to stay up with that level of immunity. So please, everybody, get it. But then also make good personal decisions. Your health status, the different health challenges you may be dealing with, and you now know enough about COVID to make an informed decision about what to do. Our country has moved past widespread masking. That's just where we are. But what I want to make sure is that we give the space for individuals who make that decision, and that they are not judged, and that they are in fact encouraged. And I see a lot of individuals choosing to do that. But certainly now people have all the information to make the very best decisions. And we're still learning a lot about long COVID. It's going to be something that stays with us for a while. But I'd also say I don't think we've processed the grief of what we've been through. We've lost 17,400 plus Kentuckians. I mean, we've never lost this many people in this short of time, at least in our lifetimes or in several lifetimes. So whether it's lingering strands of COVID, or whether it's the almost immeasurable loss in terms of life, we're going to be dealing and processing with this pandemic for a while. Austin Horn at the Lexington Herald Leader, who I think is going to ask me a question about a movie coming out.
Thank you, Governor. I may have to disappoint you on that one. There are still some empty slots on the Democratic 2023 ticket, and I'm just wondering what you make of that compared to a ton of people on the GOP side of things filing for those offices. And are you yourself working to ensure that the rest of the Democratic down ticket in 2023, who would be running, not necessarily alongside you, but on the ballot with you, the rest of that ticket is strong? Or are you taking a more kind of let the chips fall where they may approach?
Well, there's still a long time to file for office, constitutional offices for the 2023 elections. Now, admittedly, we've seen some more filing on the Republican side, primarily for one office, an office I know fairly well. I think you'll see filings coming in, and typically you get most of them for the down ticket in January, closer to that deadline. I have talks with people about what it's like to run statewide. I encourage people who I think will do a good job. But in the end, it is a very personal decision that people have to make. What you can do in these offices to help people are incredible, whether that was what we were able to do as Attorney General and putting more child predators behind bars than ever before, better protecting our seniors, suing all these opioid companies that have resulted in an enormous settlement that I hope can really help our people. Or as governor, I mean, the first week we restored voting rights to now almost 200,000 Kentuckians, protected health care for 100,000 before a pandemic that came 3 months later. What we've done with medical marijuana, all of our economic development announcements, expansion of Medicaid into vision, dental, and hearing. These jobs, you can do really good things for people, but it comes with a lot of personal sacrifice. It comes with an election that's hard and has people saying lots of untrue things about you in very public ways that your kids can see. It's not right, but nevertheless, that's part of the system. And you spend the better part of a year with less time, with your family and time away from work. So I encourage everybody to do it, and I talk to them about the amazing things that you can do. But I also try to make sure that folks know what they would be getting into, and if they get into it, that they are truly dedicated, ready, and willing to do not just what it takes to win. That's just part of the process, but being willing to do what it takes to serve. And I think in many ways, a lot of public service has now become about politics. It seems in D.C. they never stop. They're talking about number of D's versus R in this chamber or the other, when after the election, you're supposed to actually try to move forward with good policy that could help the country. So I think you'll see a full down ticket on both sides. And I commend anyone who's willing to step up and provide service to the Commonwealth. I just hope anybody who gets in is not getting in because they think something is a great title, but they're getting in because they have a why, deep down in their heart and in their soul about why they want to do this, how they can truly help, because that's what gets you through the tough parts of a campaign or the tough days of public service. And I'd like to think if we could get everybody who gets into one of these jobs to have that deep why they want to do it and how they're going to help, and maybe we could push a lot of this kind of silliness to the side. That was a really long answer to a short question. Stan Ingold from WEKU.
Thank you, Governor. I want to look at Eastern Kentucky and the flooded areas, the areas that had been flooded. And we've been seeing some cold snaps recently. What is being done to ensure that folks that are in less than ideal living conditions are able to stay warm? I know there's a heater program. There was talk of winterizing some of these travel trailers. What's going on with that right now?
Yeah, we are actively winterizing the travel trailers right now. Work started on that weeks ago. The Transportation Cabinet, Parks, and others working together to get that done. Emergency management is working with county and city officials on a heating program. So everyone is actively collaborating and working together now, especially as it gets colder. A lot of nonprofits are out there doing home repair, which is helpful as well. And we hope maybe even as early as next week to have an additional announcement on that. But we are very aware of what cold weather can do with folks that don't have secure housing. And we are moving very quickly to make sure we are addressing it in any and all ways that we can. I'm told the weatherization of the travel trailers are going well. Just make sure anybody who is getting a generator and or another means of heating that you read it very closely. Never put a generator inside a travel trailer. Remember, sometimes when we lose power and it's very cold, we don't lose people to the actual event itself, but with mistakes being made about where you place that generator or other equipment. Okay, thank you. That is the end of this week's Team Kentucky update. We will be back next week to continue to do our very best for helping the people of Kentucky. And folks, I know if you turn on the national news, it sounds like there's a new crisis every day. These are challenges, right? These are challenges we face, but we'll make them. We'll make it. We'll get through it, and we'll get through it together. Thanks.